Seer Entertainment presents Time Shift, an intense action-packed first-person shooter for the Xbox 360, PC, and PS3. Armed with the experimental beta suit, you alone are able to slow, stop, and reverse the flow of time. Lead the uprising to victory by mastering time to become the ultimate weapon. Time Shift will be available October 30th on the Xbox 360 and PC. Visit www.timeshiftgame.com for more details.
It's time to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of gum.
I've come here to chew bubble gum and podcast, and I am all out of gum. How's that? Is that good? That was me perfect. As Duke Nukem.
Shit. That was you as Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That was you as Duke. Yeah, that was me.
Oh my God!
I know. I totally fooled Sean Malloy. I knew it. I knew I'd get somebody. This is Duke Nukem as Arnold as Jeff Green in GFW Radio. I almost said CGW again, or 97.5 the Brodeo, and I'm here with the original all-star cast. Introduce yourselves, please.
Oh, sorry.
Starting over there.
Oh, Sean Malloy.
Menstrual Blood Magic. is that your radio name? Shawn Elliott.
Ryan Scott.
And back from the dead, Darren Gladstone.
Welcome back from the dead, you living corpse, you. Maximum Chill, Dr. Maximum Chill is not with us this week.
The doctor now?
Yeah, cool. To me he is.
It's an honorific title.
He's my doctor of love. Where is he? Where is Max Chill?
He's out doing Christmas preparations before he flies to Texas tomorrow.
That fucking hobo.
Let's go to Texas.
Okay.
Someone stole the Cowboys flag off his antenna, and he's trying to find it. So he's hunting him down. Jessica Simpson stole it.
So
hook 'em horns.
So I did that yuck-filled topical opening sentence because it was the big day. We had 24 hours of hype about Duke Nukem Forever. So the whole internet blew up yesterday. Oh, my God, it's out. And everybody here at One Up was like, oh, my God, can we do a Duke cover? Oh, whoa. So then it came out this morning, and what did everybody think?
Like that transition. Trying to put words in our mouth. Yeah. Their implication, really? I don't know if it deserves a wet fart.
About that trailer? Oh, it was just...
Duke Nukem.
It was a teaser trailer. It was a commercial.
It looks exactly like what you'd expect if the basic assumption about Duke Nukem is that it was Doom with a few palette swaps and then some like cheesy one-liners thrown over the top of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and then take that into 2007 and you basically have a Doom 3 or Prey. Character model swap with some voice clips thrown over it. Judging from what's on the video, I don't know. I think that's all there is to say. I think most people at this point are reacting to their nostalgia, and in the same way that people swear that CGW was so wonderful in these years and that EGM was the best in the years, and then you go back and you look at those years and it was basically a bunch of screenshots and some sort of pseudo babbling but it's like that's you remember that from when you were a kid and it was cool. It's coming back and it's the reason that they're making it again.
I'm gonna say I don't get this game's appeal whatsoever. Never ever got the Duke
the first time
games.
around.
No, never.
I'm actually going to join you, Mr. Malloy, in saying I was also not in the Duke camp. I did not understand that game's appeal at the time. I am sorry if I'm offending certain listeners. I was not in the Duke camp.
The only thing I dug about it the first time around was the interactivity. That was probably one of the first games that let you do all sorts of stuff in the world.
Okay, now that is the common meme.
No, wait, you're talking about the third time around.
You're talking about Duke Nukem 3D.
3D.
Right? 3D. Okay, but
the first two were side scrollers.
Interactivity other than you could flush the toilet.
Shoot, actually they had ball physics on. You could shoot pool. You could actually shoot.
Right.
Sit there and shoot.
Okay, but see, all
I
that
wouldn't
stuff
waste my
to
day
me
doing
was
it.
That was like tech demo stuff that didn't actually affect the game.
It didn't at all.
Or at least in Half-Life, you're talking about the gravity gun.
I agree.
Right. So that even back then, I was I was all excited, when I heard about it. Wow, you can interact with the world. Unlike Doom, where it's all just sort of painted walls or whatever. I can interact with Duke. I could be Duke and interact with the world. And then I was like, I can flush the toilet. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, maybe there's a game I could play.
Yeah, it was stupid. It didn't contribute to the game at all. But I mean, I'm just saying, back then, through the eyes of God, how old was I when I was playing it?
It was different.
Expectations were low, and it was a different era.
But of course, that's what they chose to do with the interactivity, which sort of says something about
True. For today's market, it really is a matter of like the same reason that we have Transformers, live action films this year. The same reason that Blood Bowl was announced, that Area 51 is Area 51 and not some other sci-fi shooter with a different name every time it comes out. And, it sounds cynical and it sounds obvious when you put it in that context. You're like, hey, who was ever so in love with Area 51 like in game that they were guaranteed sell on a version that has more or less nothing to do with it that comes out this year, right? But then when it's Duke Nukem and it happens, or Transformers, and it's something that was especially prominent in your youth and your experience, then all of a sudden the allure is there. And I think that that's part of what is there. The other thing is that Duke, maybe the time, a lot of people were sort of like responding to, when the American flag pops up at the end and the thing, and the title comes over. But that's not I don't think that's the point, though. I think even then it was, okay, in whatever, late 80s, early 90s, people were looking at Rambo's 80s, but, and the Schwarzenegger flicks and looking at this is like, okay, for sure, this is the fall of Western civilization, right? This is late stage capitalism, and it's on like the fast track to hell. So let's parody it and like look at just how ridiculous everything's gotten. This is also an era in which people were wearing shirts to school that said like "kill them all, let God sort them out," right? And it's sort of responding to that mentality. Ryan still has that's his tag. He's wearing it now.
He's wearing it yesterday.
That's his tag in many first-person shooters too. So the thing for me now is that if they take what made it work then and they just remake it and they play it straight, which I don't think the trailer's enough to indicate one way or the other. But if they do, I think that's going to not work. Because so if that was supposed to pretend the fall of Western civilization, look what's happened in the 15, 20 years since then. Now we're so fucked up that Duke Nukem talking about chewing bubble gum and kicking ass, it sounds like something Bart Simpson would say, right? Right. So now, instead of that, they have to have like, let's see, I came to eat fruit by the foot and watch German Scheisse movies and kick ass, and I'm all out of fruit by the foot and German Scheisse movies. They have to do something to amp it up and to respond to today's environment and make it that much more
I don't think they're
going
to make some like ironic commentary on what Duke used to be. I think they're going to play it straight. Don't you?
They probably are, and that sadly means that we're not going to hear like squealing Steve Vai sounding guitars thrown in at random moments. Like that would be so rad. Like say if you're in a big fight and there's no music, just ambient sound effects, then when it's done and you're just walking down a random hall for a key, then it just plays some random
I absolutely do not think they're going to make that parody of
that would be too
I mean, look, the trailer we saw had that like cheesy, like generic metal music in it, which I don't think they were playing for laughs. Like Duke is pumping iron in between the little 2-second shots of gameplay, and you're just hearing that hair metal shit. And I think you were supposed to go, Duke's back!
I don't know.
What's funny is when we were joking about
it is possible, Shawn.
It is because look at
giving
Romero
the game industry too much credit.
When they made Doom, that's pretty much who they were, right?
Yes,
they had the hair and they liked the metal, and the whole demons and shit. And it's like this. Right. How do we do that? What do we do to get better than? They got demons and the guy that blows them up. How are we going to beat that? You have them shit down their fucking throat after you kill the demon. And then you got Duke Nukem, right?
By the way, speaking of what was the tagline at the end? Can anyone remember that line?
It was something like, I need to park a brick. What the hell?
I need a
toilet to park my brick. Who's first?
Where's the alien toilet to park my brick? Something like that.
You guys are fucking it all up.
Whatever it was. I don't even know what it meant. I had to hear it 5 times and I didn't get it.
You know what I think?
Yeah.
I think that they should go back to the side-scrolling, dude. That'd be awesome.
Why do you think that?
When are we going to kick your ass off to the Retronauts?
Because those games...
Banish you forever.
Shit back in here, dude.
Those games were rad. Then they went all 3D, first person, and screwed it all up.
3D. Everything was better in 2D.
I should tell them to do a Retronauts about Duke
youngest
Nukem 1.
old man ever.
They're probably already working on one right now.
We also have to kind of put ourselves to figure out what this is going to be. Put ourselves in the shoes of someone who's been working on this game for 10 years.
Yeah.
To figure out
still listening to Andrew Dice Clay.
What has transformed in their head? Are they just are they mad? Are they insane? Are they just
right?
What would that
do?
That's
why when that trailer came out, that's what I'm asking about that last line. It was like, you had how many years to come out with a trailer and you ended on that line, which is just like, huh?
That's what I'm saying. They need Garth Ennis or someone to do lines. Like he's got that one character who's sort of like this Arab militia dude, and he's always talking about like, I swat you like the flies that buzz around my cockhead. He can't like swear right.
Is
that
the
they
Butcher?
could get guys like that in there. They could have like Duke Nukem should be driving. Have you seen Idiocracy? The police cars and that.
Yeah.
No, I want.
He should be driving one of those things. It's like a little tiny ass car, but it's got like like tribal banding around it, and then like the police logo looks like it was from a Big Dog shirt from Walmart or something.
Yeah, see, if they took this game that over the top and made him that over the top, yeah, it could be fun. But
it would be, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just don't play it straight and don't play it like, hey, guys, we know you have so many expectations about Duke Nukem. What we need to do is live up to these expectations. And so you can understand, much as the way that people who've made movies like, film adaptations of Harry Potter, right, or all these other popular franchises, we have all these fans to please, and we have this legacy that we have to remain true to. It's like there's no fucking legacy of a dude ripping off lines from Bruce Campbell or whatever.
Right. So they should completely go for it, and then it could be actually good. And I don't believe. Well, I'm not going to say that. I don't believe it.
Don't.
Well, I think the first time around,
saw
they were
given the benefit of the doubt. 5 seconds of clip. So
no, you're right.
Yeah, we can't glean anything
But that clip
from that.
didn't make me think. What I'm trying to say is that clip didn't make me think that they know it's a joke.
No, because if they did, when they showed that octopoid thing, he would have went like, I fought this thing in Prey, F yeah.
Right, yeah, something ironic. Yeah.
Dope.
What's funny is when before this came out and we were joking, like, what, we're all assuming, like, okay, after all this time and whatever, the internet's making a big deal about it, we're going to see this trailer and there's going to be some really cool shit in it. We were hoping, like everyone else, it'd be cool. But then we were joking, like, okay, what's it actually, like, what would it be if it sucked? And it was like, yeah, he's just going to be like, they're going to show him like walking slowly down a hall, and then he's going to puff cigarette smoke and say something badass at the end. And like, that's almost what it was. We were close.
Yeah, Sean called it exactly.
We got the cigarette, the cigar smoke.
He's going to puff smoke. What did you say? I mean,
you said that.
Pretty much what happened. I don't know.
Yeah.
And you'll hear some metal.
Right. And it will end on some bullshit tagline.
At least they're consistent.
It's like walking over into Donahoe's cube, dude. Smoke and metal.
At least they're consistent.
Yeah. Over 10 years. We'll see. We will see. I credit them, though, because they did manage to blow up the internet over this thing. I was looking at GameTab, the news aggregator site sponsored by Ziff Davis Incorporated. And at GameTab, like, every number one story was the Duke Nukem thing. And it's like,
what's a good story?
Kudos to them for getting that PR.
When Brian Wilson's Smile came out, even if you never liked the Beach Boys or Brian Wilson, you still want to read. And like if Chinese Democracy by Guns N' Roses comes out, if you think Guns N' Roses suck, you're still going to want to read about it, right?
I've read every article about that record, and I don't like them.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting story. It's like
same thing.
Oh, it's a great story.
Anytime someone falls off the face of the earth and has to justify, a 10-year money sink, it's good news. It's a good story.
Right.
The thing about this, to transition into another news item from this week, is that I think a lot of us are expecting it to be a budget game. It sort of just makes, I don't know. I've heard that around the office. I know Shu is kind of assuming it looks like a budget game, right?
I think it's more of it was more of a joke. I mean, like it would be for sure, considering the subject matter, it would probably be like a bestseller at Walmart. But I mean, I don't know.
But this is the thing. Say it's not a joke, right?
Okay.
Say it's $39.99. Say it's even better yet. It's $29.99.
Okay.
And it gets, it has prominent placement in, Walmart and other, Best Buy and stuff like that. And then you compare it to, say, Crysis and UT3, which we know, as in U.S. sales as of last week or something, were 30,000 units for Unreal Tournament 3 and 86,000 for Crysis, right? And that's another part of the discussion which we can transition into is why so low for that.
It was all your score, man.
Yeah. Way to go, Sean.
But you have to think maybe hardware system requirements and just the sort of the assumption that you don't have the right rig to play it, and then you look and you're like, hey, this is based unapologetically on the Doom 3 engine, but guess what? You could play it.
Yeah.
Whatever you got. You bought the computer at Walmart, you buy the game at Walmart. You take them home and you play both.
Who would be surprised
Get a
if
bundle.
Duke Nukem Forever, however the quality is, sold more than Crysis or Unreal Tournament 3. I totally believe it will.
At this point, yeah.
Oh, now that I know what they sold, I was a little shocked.
Well, it should have.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, for novelty's sake, it could sell more. I mean, if they have it for $20, it could sell more than like Hooters. Like I think like a game like Hooters Road Trip sold well because it's for $20.
Technological barriers are obviously like one of the secrets to WoW's success because that requires so little hardware.
Actually, one thing I was wondering though was, like, what is Duke's? What does that name even mean to younger gamers? Who, I mean, it's been forever since there was a Duke game. Isn't there now a whole generation of teenage gamers who'd never even heard of Duke Nukem?
The source material is not going to make sense, and there's a huge gap of living in that time that they're going to miss. So it's not just Schwarzenegger movies and such, but even as a comic book fan, do you remember when you had in the 80s spawned the anti-Captain America? It was always a guy sort of dressed in the stars and stripes, but he was like, instead of the super soldier serum, it was like the U.S. government version of like super crack or something. Frank Miller created. No, Frank. Ryan knows exactly what I'm talking about, especially anyone who read Marvel Comics, but like American Flag also.
Okay.
The characters in Marvel Comics where there were subsequent instead of the starry-eyed 1940s version of Captain America, you get these super cynical representatives of America projecting its power abroad. And you have basically just these drug-addicted psychopaths that were in the Stars and Stripes. And it kind of, the Duke Nukem thing is part of that, too. And
so
again,
you're saying that Duke
as
an icon is anachronistic.
Nuke, the character's name is Nuke from Marvel Comics that I'm thinking of.
Dukem.
Yeah. He was undoubtedly an inspiration for Duke Nukem.
Right.
You think like
but what I mean is, besides the iconography of Duke, I mean, he himself, does his name actually mean anything if you're 13?
The name doesn't mean anything, and I'm saying even more so. Even looking at him and hearing the lines is not going to mean anything.
Yeah, right.
Like, most of the modern kids are like, they know Rainier Wolfcastle, like the parody of Arnold Schwarzenegger from
right.
They'll be trying to connect.
It's like, oh, sorry, go on.
They'll just be trying to connect what they've seen in this trailer to say like Team America or something.
Right. Which is another parody.
That's a parody, but the thing is, it's like. That is like, I mean, like trying to go back and watch like an old like Commando, an old Schwarzenegger movie today, which takes itself very seriously.
Right.
That's kind of what Duke Nukem is to me.
Right. And they couldn't get away with that now, right? I mean, they just...
No, this is the age of, like, snide, you know? I mean, everything is facetious and snide and...
Yeah, you need a Borat. A Borat, you know?
That's what I'm saying, to play with it. I mean, just, like, have fun with...
Right.
Have, like, the equivalent of the Garth Ennis characters that fuck up swearing.
Maybe they will fool
better because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do we think about this Crysis UT thing? Do we want to move on to that?
Yeah.
Are we done with Duke?
Yeah, let's go right into that. That's why I brought him up.
Until the next trailer in 2020.
I think it's pretty alarming. I mean, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
It's pretty fucking
hard to look at it as good news. Yay!
I certainly hope to see Crysis sell a boatload, you know? I mean, just because I wanted other people to experience it as an FPS fan and, you know, as someone who talks with other people about FPS play. One thing I mentioned in the course of the discussions after I played it was that it's the kind of game where you really do need to play it to understand the range of experiences in a genre, you know, the possibilities.
Mm-hmm. I wonder, I mean, we've talked about this before, and I think it's like accepted wisdom now that I believe, but it definitely, I think, got tainted by the requirements thing,
and
right?
I can actually back that up big time, because actually I'm in the middle of working on the Ultimate Game Machine competition right now.
Right.
And we're using that as one of our benchmark tests. And so what we're doing is every single game we have, we're throwing a bunch of games at these like machines that have like 3 graphics cards, like, you know, 8800 Ultras and SLI, so it's like this crazy, powerful $10,000 system.
They can do 3 now?
They can do 3 now.
What the hell?
And this is how retarded it is. So basically, we tried throwing every game at 2560 by 1600, and the only game that would not run is Crysis. Now, this is like $10,000 fucking machine, and I can't run Crysis at that level. So there's an obvious concern, but I think that, well, it's 2 parts. One, they are working on performance patches. I've talked to EA PR people, and they are actively working on a performance patch that's going to lower the bar a little, but still, that game is not meant to be run at these high resolutions on current machines.
Right.
But that's, I mean, part of at least part of their argument, whether it's failing. Mm-hmm. We don't know if it's the reason why.
Right.
But was that they're future-proofing it and that you could play it at acceptable resolutions today on acceptable hardware. And so that was like, if you, like on my home rig, you know, but I do have an 8800 in there, and I played it at like medium settings, and it still looks fantastic. But you have to say though that at medium settings, the game still looks far superior to anything else available, and that's counting, of course, Unreal Tournament. That's counting, It looks like significantly superior to anything else that you could play.
But the fact that people like you have to keep saying that means that, you know, that barrier is in people's minds. I mean, look, I haven't installed it on my own machine at home because I'm thinking my machine's not going to run it well. Mm-hmm. It may very well, but I bought into it as well as everybody has. That I'm not ready for this game.
You
yet.
and Shawn haven't played it, yeah.
Because I feel like it's not going to work.
It actually crashes every 10 minutes or so.
You might want to try. Actually, I ran into the same problem, and I agree with Shawn. I mean, like, actually, you can run this at lower resolutions and lower settings, and you're going to get a great experience. Matter of fact, we have a sub-$1,000 machine in the office. I've been testing it on at lower settings, and then you can play it fine. Mm-hmm. But you're missing out on all the cool, all the high-end effects.
Right.
But try running it in a window. It sounds kind of crazy, but it actually removed a lot of the crash issues that I had at home.
The whole future-proofing thing, I mean, a lot of games do that to some extent.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, you could backtrack.
Yeah, I don't know how smart it is, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with it.
Either. I mean,
maybe better to do it in patches.
The way people work and games work is like if something's on top of mind pretty close to when it comes out, and then it's on to the next big thing.
Exactly.
So
yeah, we're not going to be.
People in 2 years aren't going to go, oh, time for Crysis.
Exactly.
They're going to be like,
and that was
Crysis. Oh yeah, I remember Crysis.
Yeah. It needed to be awesome for everybody right now, and it needed to look awesome and play awesome right now. This was its moment.
It depends on. I haven't looked at the results from the latest Steam survey for hardware survey, but I mean, it kind of depends on what most people have right now.
Well, those are always pretty low.
Like I said, it does run really well at those settings on 8800, but that's the top of the line card right now. But I was talking about not the whatever one it is, the lower budget one is the one.
The GTs.
Yeah.
Actually, you could seriously for what people can spend right now on the GTXs that you got. People can get two 8800 GTs and run them in SLI, and they can get really good performance on that.
Buying two video cards, man.
Yeah, it sounds crazy. I know,
but even the one GT is still good.
One GT is
one GT is pretty good. But I'm just saying, it's actually more economical now to get two cheaper cards and have them run an SLI than it is to buy one high-end card.
Most people aren't going to understand that, though.
Yeah, that's true, but it really isn't that tough. It's as simple as plugging in a card and...
You say SLI and you've lost half the game's
I make the mistake assuming people read the text section.
So do we think...
I don't
think that the system, entry requirements are the sole...
No, of course
Well, it's not the only one. Absolutely not.
Piracy is always going to come up, and we do know that the game was pirated before its launch.
We were at lunch today with folks from EA, actually, Ryan Scott and I, and that came up. We brought up the issue of Crysis sales, and the guy we were talking to, who's a producer not on that series, said that, I think it was just this morning, did he say? He was on a pirate, a site, a website, and there was some astronomical number of copies of Crysis being downloaded that very moment.
It was 14,000 or something?
Yeah, 14,000.
And when you consider the game sold 86,000?
That's got to piss you off when you see that. That's got to piss people off. I mean, that's...
World markets are also important to factor in when you look at PC game sales.
Definitely.
We know that right now. We know the German market's huge. We know that there are significant game populations in Sweden, Norway, New Zealand, Australia, all throughout Eastern Europe. So it's not enough to say that, hey, well, they ended up selling 2 million in those markets. I don't think that. I think that's something else to keep in mind.
But yeah, it's no wonder when you look at this that, more and more developers are just like, fuck PC. I'm doing console only from now on.
So
what you just said, right now, 14,000 people were downloading Crysis. That is just ridiculous compared to how much it actually sold.
Yeah.
Why would you do that to yourself?
Pirates totally fucking it up for us gamers.
It's horrible for us because Crysis was the one, out for single player, the one PC exclusive shooter this year. Outside of Stalker was also great. Mm-hmm. I don't know how well that sold, and we want to push the tech envelope and stuff. And if the lesson now is basically they put their hand on the stove and they got burned, it's don't reach for the stars in your graphics anymore. Plan for low end machines. I mean, what are the repercussions for this? I mean, do you just do you play it safe on every count? Do you just do multi-platform? That's sad, and it was really upsetting to see Shane Bettenhausen from EGM gloat about it. He hit me up on AIM, and it was this is where I first heard about these sales figures, and it was followed with ha ha ha, PC gaming is dead, ! And stuff. And I was
says the guy who's the champion of the most failed console system of this generation. Sorry, credibility hit there.
I don't want to pick on him, but it's that was upsetting to me. Of course, it's oh well, do you think that what if you worked for PlayStation Magazine or something, and I'm saying hey, guess what, dude, your platform's a is fucking a failed piece of shit. How do you like your job? Think you're going to have it for very long?
Thanks.
So that was stupid, but it was also, like, I don't understand why you'd want anything to fail.
Right.
And then, but even more, he has this thing where he was like, no, but here's what it means is that PC is no longer sort of the forerunner platform for first-person shooters.
Right. He said that on One Up Yours the week I was on.
This is a bizarre sort of claim to me. For one, it's absolutely and entirely wrapped up in sales. Like, it's putting your blinders on and seeing the gaming world only through an economic lens, right? Mm-hmm. And to us, it's like, well, this year we still got Stalker, we still got, Crysis, and we're still, even though they're multi-platforms, Team Fortress 2, and, we're COD4 and stuff too. And it's like, it's not just
all
this.
Of Orange Box.
To me, it's not just, you pick. I don't understand. Like, what is it? Are you just trying to say, well, this platform sold more copies of it? I don't really care about that sort of thing.
Right.
And
we should have Shane on the podcast here.
We should.
And have it out with him.
As a PC, gamer, someone who prefers to play FPS on PC, it's not about that. It's about, well, it's viable and it's valid to me and it's the forefront to me because for the very reasons that console gamers don't like it. It's like, I like to play in front of a monitor at a desk. I like to use, the networking options that I have on PC, Ventrilo, and then I'm able to talk to a group of people that way, and then also to the people in the game through VoIP. So we're able to sort of put that like dramatic irony wall there in between us and talk about them and then talk to them. And it's just like the way I like the interface, the mods and all the other things, they're slowly changing and leveling out. But it's like I enjoy playing it that way. It's valid to me, and it's like I don't understand the whole mentality of like, this is the best platform ever. Gears of War PC is the best because you could see this guy's scar.
Who said that?
I don't know. No doubt a very, very brilliant person.
Yeah. Right. I mean, my other what I'm concerned about with Crysis, or not concerned, what I think, what I suspect might be part of the problem is that there was, within the game industry, like an insular maybe misperception of its recognition factor. Like, I don't know if anybody outside of a very hardcore group of people even knew what the fuck it was. Like, I don't feel like EA necessarily did the greatest job advertising this thing.
Well, compared to like Halo coverage and
right, or Rock Band, some of EA's own games. Where was the big push for Crysis? I never saw it.
They did. They had events and stuff for it. I don't see marketing on the press side.
Right, but I mean for a more mainstream audience.
Right, exactly.
Right. They did a great job of preaching to the choir. But
that's what I'm saying. Right. Like, if this was the big, great, awesome PC game for the PC this year, there should have been a much more aggressive push.
Right. Yeah, no mainstream stories and... Right. It was overlooked from the beginning. Like, even when we were saying, like, we're at E3, it was like, the fact that it didn't even get, like, the Graphics Darling Award, which made no sense, because it was clearly, and now that all the games from the E3 are out, I mean, like, by
Right, when you think about, that E3 when Microsoft, were you talking about the Microsoft press conference? They had their
they didn't show it.
They had their big freaking thing in that outdoor auditorium, and they were like, games for Windows! And they're like, the most awesome platform ever is getting better! And then the first thing they show is like fucking Viva Pinata.
The B-movie.
Yeah, and
which
it's
they
like,
already showed for the Xbox.
And it's like, show Crysis, man! Show Crysis! Yeah. You got an 8,000-foot tall screen! And they didn't, and it was like, okay.
I think it was a second of it in a montage.
Yeah, you fail.
And it should have had a walkthrough. They should have had Crytek on the stage. They should have everything that's great about the game. They should have shown a scenario. Did what they did with Call of Duty 4, right?
Exactly, because Call of Duty 4 was the one everybody walked away going,
with gate mouse. And when they also left, they stole all those ass pads. Because this was the year, to explain to the listener out there, it was in a high school auditorium, and it was basically just brick to sit on. So Microsoft provided these butt cushions, and they had Microsoft branding on them.
It was like cheap foam butt cushions.
And when it ended, and all these sloppy asses were sitting there sharding on them for the whole evening, right? And then when the thing ends, you see guys leaving with like 4 of them under each arm. Like, what are you going to do with that, dude? Well,
they were
take them to eBay, but the people that put them on, that buy them off eBay are like fucking Duke Nukem.
That was crazy. Yeah, the swiping, the mass swiping of the butt cushions.
The wipes.
This one dude had 2 arm loads. I remember just seeing it.
Yeah, Yeah.
He's grinning from ear to ear, like, I'm going to make a fortune on eBay.
That, like,
I scored.
We need to do that next year. Like, have just the E3 Hall of Shame, just a photo documentary of human filth.
I miss those.
So that was Crysis, but way worse in
It's
sales was
UT3.
UT3.
And that's very scalable. So that's why I'm saying, like, maybe not just the entry
tumbleweeds.
requirements.
It's true.
I can't argue with that, though. I wouldn't buy. I don't like UT3 enough to buy or
Okay, so what
recommend
happened
buying
there?
it.
Because here we have, unlike Crysis, which was arguably recognizable, UT totally recognizable franchise, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Right, plus you got like the whole from the guys who just did Gears of War.
right.
So
They
you got
just
a
did
whole
Gears
other
of War.
audience.
This was the very next game from the guys who did Gears of War, and this thing was I won't say it was a turd, but it laid a turd in terms of sales this week. So how do you explain that?
I don't think we can. I think as soon as maybe you guys can, but I can't. As soon as I hypothesize something, I'm able to shoot it down immediately.
Did it come out for the consoles too?
It came out for the PS3.
PS3.
That's why Shane's interested.
Right.
PS3 doesn't really help.
Shooters are good now because there's one on the PS3.
I'd like to see the sales figures for the PS3 version versus the PC version.
Well, I'm sure the PS3 version will do better because they don't really have many options for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, but I'm kind of
Are there
That doesn't
30,000
explain it, though,
PS3?
because anyone who was ever into UT on PC would continue to want to play it on PC. That's how it goes. And I say this as someone, like, I'm in the know because I love first-person shooters on PC. And given the option, I will always play them on the platform, with the exception of games like Halo that are they're very clearly made from the beginning for the other platform. So it's not like someone who says, I played tournaments in 2K4. I was a huge fan of, the previous ones, but this year I just decided I really wanted to play it on PS3. That person doesn't exist,
Right, yeah, I agree.
Unless, or maybe they do, and they're like, hey, I just gave up on. It would be more. I gave up on upgrading my computer.
Right, I
and
gave
this
up
and
on
that, and I
PCs
got a
in general.
PS3 for Christmas.
It
because
could just
get
be
Wii
a
or something.
multiplayer FPS glut right now. Like, imagine this had
It's
come
bad-
out
it's horrible
a year
selling.
ago when a lot of the stuff that actually came out now was maybe going to come out. Like, because we got
That was
Team
no problem for
Fortress 2 and
UE4, though. It's no problem for Team Fortress 2.
maybe there's only a certain number of them that bubble to the top.
Well, Team Fortress 2 came out early enough in that cycle, so that it kind of
That's
got
right.
like
And it was so awesome.
It wouldn't
too.
have mattered. Team Fortress 2 would be.
Yeah.
No,
But
I'm
what
not
if
arguing.
UT3
It's
came
different
out
enough.
first of all of these? Maybe it would have done.
I don't know. Look at Quake
don't
Wars.
know.
I think-
that's not.
Well, that's
that hasn't
true.
done very
Yeah,
well. And that
that's-
came out
that's a good
before
point.
all of them. I don't think the order matters. This is what I mean by shooting down my own hypothesis. One would be look at contemporary and real life settings seem to do well as you take the evidence from Call of Duty 4, right? But then you're like, well, BioShock was sold phenomenally well. So did Half-Life Episode 2. Those aren't real. You shoot that down. Another thing, though, is that I do sense there's this trend where every time when you take a genre that's been around for a while, and after it's around for so many generations, they're continually iterating on them based on feedback from hardcore players and pleasing the hardcore. And every time I've spoken with Epic, it's always been very much about pleasing that audience,
Yeah.
And Valve did the opposite thing with Team Fortress 2, right? Instead of, I was one of the skeptics, because I was that hardcore audience there. Instead of saying, well, let's make Sean happy and put the conks back in and do all this other stuff, let's actually simplify this game. Whereas the trend with, like, the multiplayer in Crysis and the multiplayer in UT3, the simple CTF and deathmatch notwithstanding, is at this point, like, one of my complaints was that it's convoluted, right?
Right.
Maybe it's getting to that part in the cycle of the genre where to get more and to get new players, the simplicity actually helps,
Yeah.
Don't
And also
scare
maybe
people
that
away.
maybe those franchises themselves have like worn out their welcome. Maybe there's just like a lifespan to how long, maybe Unreal Tournament 3 is like Smokey and the Bandit 6. Like, how many Smokey and the Bandit movies do you see before, first it's Burt Reynolds as Smokey, and then and then after a while he doesn't want to be in it anymore, so Jackie Gleason's the star. Then after Jackie Gleason dies, they got to have like Andrew Dice Clay as like Jackie Gleason's cousin.
Yeah.
And then it's Smokey and the Bandit, whatever.
You should ask
long as
Nintendo
it's not
about
Police
this
Academy.
theory.
So maybe right, Police Academy. So maybe that at a certain point, those of us who used to be into Unreal are sort of like, yeah, okay, already.
Just two quick thoughts. One, I agree with both you guys. First, but I do think like UT actually kind of scaled down its complexity as opposed to Quake Wars, which actually is a lot more complex.
Right.
But I do agree with you guys in that I think it's one of those like eras, not gone by, but definitely like evolving. I mean, like UT still remains like if you go sit down and play it, it really is a Twitch fest.
Right.
And you look at most other games. I think with TF2 being the exception, I think that most games are slowing down the pace some.
So, but is that preventing people from buying it though? Like, does that explain why?
I don't know. I have like you guys. I don't have.
Yeah, that's something that
because most the sales that really make these games successful aren't coming from people who are articulating any of these things. Not that they're dumb. It's just they don't think about them. They don't care. They just go to the store and like this looks like a fun game, right?
Well, they don't know
so
how
whatever
to speak, most of them.
is in that thought process. You know, it might be they've heard a few things from friends, but then when they quickly scan the aisle and say, you know what, that's worth my $50. Like it's hard to say what is in there, but that could be something they could think about. Like, yeah, I remember I used to play that game, but I'm a little older now, and
might just be more big gun.
I don't have answers.
Good. $20. Yes.
Well, I think Soldier of Fortune's selling fairly well.
Oh, please, God, is it?
Well,
I would bet it's
at a budget price. Right?
I would bet it's outsold UT3.
It's in their budget line, so yeah, maybe so.
I bet that History Channel Battle of the Pacific's outselling them.
How much you loving that, man?
I was playing that, so I could say something about it.
What game?
To abbreviate it, since I did talk about it on another podcast, but it's
I
basically a History Channel. Well, that's for people. Come on, Jeff. Just give it a shit. That's for people who listen to multiple shows and don't want to. You said that last week.
That's fine. You should listen to multiple shows.
It's like a History Channel World War II game, and the thing is, when you put a History Channel stamp on something. It's not. I mean, it's not the Library of fucking Congress, but it's still. It says something.
Right.
It says that this isn't just a game where you go and just blow people. It wants you. You should at least be aware that this was based on reality.
This is a game that a basic cable TV channel has endorsed.
It does. Okay. I'm gonna fuck up my my whole. Yeah.
Yep.
You could say that about that.
Hey, I'm History Channel's demographic.
I like watching it as long as it's not just the same. When they have interesting stuff, I'm a fan of the dogfights and then shootout series that they have where they recreate that.
Right. I'm kind of like anything but World War II.
So to get to the point, the problem is of all the World War II and historically based shooters out there, this is probably the least concerned with accuracy of all of them. It's just they just put the name on there.
You got Hitler on a motorcycle with a laser gun.
But a few of the fun parts,
cybernetic Hitler,
is that there's one. I'm convinced that there's one character model in the entire game, and so that means that all of your allies are the same guy, right?
One's got a fake mustache. One's got a monocle.
No, they don't bother with.
They don't even do that.
They don't bother with the clothes or anything. So it's the same guy, and they have the same animation. And so sometimes you have to stick with them is the other thing. And this is a game that when you move 30 yards away from the guy who's yelling at you, follow me, follow me, follow me, follow me, the whole time over and over again with one voice loop. He doesn't even change inflection. Then it will just stop. Just game over, right? So
oh my God.
That means you have to stay with these like fucking knuckleheads that are all from the same cloning cylinder. And not only that, you look back at them now and then, and they have one idle animation, and it looks like a crackhead, like Dave Chappelle's character, where he's got like blow all over his face, and he's like scratching his neck. So they look like that. I think it's supposed to be them like settling their kit, their gear, but it looks like they're doing the crackhead scratch. And I looked, and they were all queued up doing it at exactly the same time, like synchronized crackhead scratching. And then you look into his face, and as he's doing it, he's like, follow me. Fucking History Channel, my ass. That game is pretty bad. Well, a few other comments about it to convince people, because you're still thinking, I probably want this. Well, now and then there's like a flat gun, say, because they want to spice it up. You shoot down some planes. The planes come through on a fixed circuit, and it's basically just looping, the way that they fly through. And so you get on the flak and shoot it, and it sounds, I've said it sounds like someone throwing a penny on a baking pan, but like very sporadically, like only, once every 15 seconds. Meanwhile, you have a rapid-fire gun hitting it, and they come through. You can't tell you're doing anything to it. You can't tell. You don't shoot. They don't blow up or anything, and you see it going at circuit, and you're like, oh, I think it's on fire a little bit, and it keeps coming through, and then that ends, and it's like. They have this big theater, say you're in an airfield, and then where Call of Duty would say, okay, this is going to be a defense thing, figure out what you're going to do because a huge army is going to counterattack you right now. So they throw in like 5 like Japanese soldiers come down the middle of the runway, and they just come down, and then you kill them, and then another 5 come, and another 5, and it just keeps doing that. And then you're like, this is dumb. I'm not going to wait for them. I'm going to go down the end of the runway. So you go down the end of the runway so you don't have to wait so long for them to run exposed down the runway to get you. Very historically accurate again. They run past you to the same spot that they were going to go no matter what. So you just like, peace out. See you guys. I'll shoot you in the back. And then you do. And that's
that must be the way it happened because it's got the History Channel stamp on it.
That's the History Channel. It's one of those games, though, where you look, the whole time I'm playing it, every single thing is a lesson, like, oh, God. Of all, it makes you appreciate the stuff that goes right in games that do get it right. Like, oh, I shouldn't take this stuff for granted because apparently.
So maybe you should play this as kind of just reset your bar.
Right. Then we can adjust our rating scale accordingly. Every game can be based on whether it's better than that History Channel.
It's that bad.
On the History Channel scale, this gets a 10.
You guys playing anything as good as that?
Sean Malloy's been playing something he loved. Actually, he finished it.
Huh?
Oh,
Matt. Oh, I know
you've been talking about it for like 3 weeks.
I know. Well, I wanted to talk about it on last week's podcast.
I know, but
now
then
it's
we
like,
didn't podcast.
oh, that's so old now. What are you talking about?
I'm sorry.
Let's take a break. We'll get back to that.
Okay, we'll take a break and we'll hear what so excited Sean Malloy a week ago.
Sierra Entertainment presents Time Shift, an intense action-packed first-person shooter for the Xbox 360, PC, and PS3. Armed with the experimental beta suit, you alone are able to slow, stop, and reverse the flow of time. Lead the uprising to victory by mastering time to become the ultimate weapon. Time Shift will be available October 30th on the Xbox 360 and PC. Visit www.timeshiftgame.com for more details.
Like a pebble that has been rounded over the centuries by the gentle splashing of the ocean waves, Halo 3 has become the perfect hardcore first-person combat simulator. By dint of painstaking labor on the part of its developer, Bungie, it has been refined over 3 installments to the point where it delivers only pure, unadulterated gaming bliss. Every combat is even-sided and complex and can be waged in multiple ways, using an arsenal of long and short-range weapons, plus grenades and hand-to-hand moves. Every level is perfectly paced and balanced and graced with soaring architectural compositions. Plus, it's graphically gorgeous. The epic storyline and the stirring score don't hurt either. In one of the greatest years video gaming has ever seen, Halo 3 is the very best of the bunch.
Was that a Knight Who Said Knee right there?
That's I won't read them all, but that was number 1 in Time's top 10 video games of 2007 roundup. And this was something else that's a holdover from when we didn't podcast because this came out a week or so ago. This is written by Lev Grossman, one of my favorite writers of all time. Everything this guy writes makes me want to fucking kill him.
him and Wagner, James Al.
Yeah, this is just I don't know. I shouldn't diss him personally. Maybe we'll meet someday and shake hands. You know, Lev Grossman, we probably went to the same temple growing up. I don't know. But, dude, and you can look on his thing, he went to Harvard and Yale. He's got, you know, there's things on his bio that are like, you know, he's won this or that award. He probably thinks he's slumming by writing about video games. But, dude, please stop writing about video games, okay? Because he made a top 10 list there of his best video games of the year. This is Time Magazine. We spent week after week dissing, you know, lame websites and magazines in our own industry, our own magazine. But you expect a little better from Time.
Do you really these days, though?
Well, maybe you don't. I don't anymore. That was Halo. So his list of games actually is okay. The top 10 games he picked, especially because it's Time Magazine.
It's just, the list of like generally agreed upon.
Right. I mean,
games.
it's Time, so you're not gonna. they're not going to go on that much of a limb.
Ace Combat, though?
And, right. Halo is number one, probably questionable.
I like that he used his, small word count to describe that the game has long and short range weapons. You can do hand-to-hand combat. Just like all this stuff that just like, well...
Right, but these write-ups are ridiculous. The one I read to you, I mean, first of all, he calls it a combat simulator because... he works for Time and he went to Harvard and Yale, so he can't just call it a fucking shooter.
Right.
Combat simulator? That's what Halo is?
That's the thing here is like, I understand. I think the language is fine. I have no problem with the language, and that he had a very small amount of space, very limited word count to say
I'm glad he compared it to a pebble in the ocean.
That part is bullshit, but it's the content is that it's just vapid, right?
Yes.
And so, for example, you have for Mass Effect, it says, choose a class, level up, earn weapons and armor, assemble your party, talk to startlingly realistic aliens. Mass Effect has all the good stuff that games used to be about before the internet came along.
Right. That's one of my favorite lines of this
In other
whole
words,
thing.
Since the internet, there's never been a game that let you choose class, level up, weapons,
Sean,
armor, assemble your party. Right. World of Warcraft minus the startlingly realistic aliens part. I mean, things like that.
Startlingly realistic aliens. Let's parse that one from
architectural stuff in Halo. I mean,
I guess Lev knows what aliens look like. These ones are startlingly realistic.
Him and Kucinich are just hanging out.
Tell us what it was like out there in outer space, Lev.
I think you've got something going on with this guy, though, that's leading you to want to pick on him and start beef with him.
I do. I call him out.
Jeff has a special vendetta.
Yeah. I do, because he's using many words to say absolutely nothing.
Yes.
Which is what you just said. Mm-hmm. I mean, that one line, I want to repeat that line you said, because that's my favorite one of this whole thing. I have to rant one more second about this guy. Mass Effect has all that good stuff that games used to be about before the internet came along. What the fuck are you talking about? Really? What does that mean? Before the internet came along. The internet did not change how games are, how they're played. There's more games that do other things because of the internet now. But single-player RPGs existed before the internet, yes.
Right.
And they still exist now. Mm-hmm. So shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't write articles like that for Time Magazine. You're embarrassing everyone, especially you. Oh, God. I hate him. Sorry. It's been a long day, and he's making it worse.
I can't wait to see the day that you and he are on a panel together.
You and him and me and the Hogwarts guy from that blog.
Wait, what's this?
I can't remember his name. Apache Hogwarts.
That guy.
Oh, that guy. Man,
we'll have some slap spots.
I got a story about him. I don't know if I could share it on the air, but
no, we'll be all right. We don't need to.
Never mind.
Let's not go there.
Hey, let's not go there. But we were talking about. I was reading about Mass Effect.
Oh, that's a good segue.
And that's a good segue. Sean, is it in fact every good thing that games used to be about before the internet came along?
Yeah. I canceled my DSL after playing it. No, I don't know. I was gonna last week. I was all ready to rant about it, but now it's kind of. The game's already at the point where people had the initial "oh my god" and it's already had the backlash. So I don't want to add to the backlash. Yeah, I think it has.
Could you counter the backlash? You could be the backlash to the backlash.
There's a couple of points I want to make that I still think are important.
Are there spoilers here?
No, I'm gonna dodge spoilers here.
Thank you.
Last week I would have just bashed specific scenes and stuff. I mean, I ultimately liked the game. I had a really, really tough time getting into it.
So you're probably responding to all the claims that this was the finest story ever told in the media.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's all nonsense. I mean, it's good. It's a pretty good game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep
it has
in perspective.
Deeply flawed and some really awesome stuff to it. But to bring it back to what I think BioWare's going the wrong way here. Since KOTOR and then with Jade Empire and now with this, it just seems to be going in the wrong direction. The main thing I don't want them to ever do ever again is have their good and evil meter.
I'm you mean like the visible meter that
in
you
KOTOR,
do something now you're that much more evil?
That morality pendulum.
Yeah, BioWare is all about. It seems like one of their trademarks now is the people who make morality games, and they've taken it and almost just turned it into too much of a science. So there's just no. Like Baldur's Gate, you've played Baldur's Gate 1 and 2.
Yeah.
There are moral choices in those games.
Yes.
There's always been moral choices in games that give you dialogue trees. They were a lot more subtle. They weren't you'd do something evil and you wouldn't get devil horns over your head and you wouldn't start glowing red. But that's kind of what they're doing now.
Kind of like BioShock.
Right. Yeah, kind of.
I guess so, yeah.
So it's just so binary. Like,
right, so every decision either darkens or lightens
you can
your
either
character model.
Like your options are, and they've been like this for like even Jade Empire.
So it's like, if someone asks you paper or plastic and you risk getting devil horns by answering wrong.
Plastic, yeah. And sometimes you don't even know.
But then you find out, though, that it takes more to, even though the plastic's recyclable, that it takes more energy to process to make the plastic bag than it does.
Exactly. That's another problem I have with the game, is that when you make your choices, sometimes you're like, whoa, the reason I made that choice is totally different than what you just thought, and you get devil horns when you really thought you're going to get an angel halo.
Yeah.
So it's just so binary. They never give you, because they're like, every one of your like choices in the game gives you these points, and it's either a good point or an evil point. There's no incentive whatsoever, because they've made it a stat that has the tangible gameplay effect. There's no reason whatsoever to kind of just play it by ear. Like, if you're not pure good, or if you're not like pure evil, they call it Paragon and Renegade or whatever, but it's still like, save the baby or eat the baby.
I say eat the baby.
There's just no. I was playing the game in a very kind of middle of the road way, and ultimately I just like ended up stunting myself. Just like I was certain options were not presented to me because of that
option.
Yeah, and it just what?
You get that?
I don't get that one.
What they needed was a granular.
Let's pause that and just say that's the question of the week. Then someone figure out what that's about.
Kevin Carter.
Okay. All right. What does the winner get?
Nothing.
Copy of Mass Effect.
Get
podcast that comes out on a Tuesday.
How about a copy of Buzz the Mega Quiz?
Actually, we give him a copy. Don't get the Frag Dolls branded keyboard.
Oh, no. Go on. Okay, move on.
So that's the main thing I wanted to say. I want them, BioWare, if you're listening, bring it back to, like, just ditch that system entirely. The other problem with Mass Effect is, the conversation system has that wheel.
Yeah.
All of the good choices are at the top of the wheel, and all of the bad ones are at the bottom of the wheel.
Right.
And if it's really good, it's blue, and if it's really bad, it's red. So it almost becomes like a good and evil mini game. Like, and because of the way they write the dialogue, you know how it works. It's like you pick a choice and it says but then he says something really long-winded instead of
Right.
Sometimes you're just like, the only reason I know which one is good or bad is because it's on the bottom or because it's red.
Right.
And that just I don't like it.
How many
the wrong way? And like the presentation after you do engage in these conversations is pretty damn awesome. And aliens are startlingly realistic. The humans are not, which is a different problem. Right. The women in that game all look like just like Play-Doh golems.
That's the hardest to do, though.
Yeah.
How about the combat?
It tries to be Gears of War to a degree.
I hated it at first. Hated it. Like, it almost made me stop the game. Hated it. Mm-hmm. And then I got into it later, like after I had all of my powers and everything. Like you said, it's like a half-assed Gears of War and a half-assed RPG. I wouldn't have had a problem with it if they hadn't scaled back the RPG kind of elements to it.
If they had just like physically removed that good evil meter,
I don't know what that would have done.
Yeah.
Actually, I have one question for you. I was just thinking, like, in previous games that BioWare did, there was always this key point in the game where it's just kind of like, it doesn't matter what your choices were beforehand, you could be all of a sudden really good or all of a sudden really bad. Does it have that here and kind of screw up that whole
dynamic? There's no, actually they do, well.
Okay, maybe I shouldn't have asked that because it could be like lead to spoilers.
I could just spoil the whole ending.
Okay, you know what?
I have other issues with that. We could have a Mass Effect spoiler thing some other day, but I don't know. It's still worth playing.
Yeah,
that is
Would
my
it make
main
a good
beef with
port
the game.
over to PC.
The driving crap is just absolute nonsense. Like when you land on a planet, it's horrible. It's absolutely terrible. Like they wanted to do like a Warthog kind of Halo thing.
Mm-hmm. It totally backfired.
It just backfired. They should not have put that in there.
So they added the Warthog from Halo, and then they added the run crouch thing from Gears of War.
Totally like the cover system. Totally.
Yeah, I got far enough in Mass Effect to have to do that, to do the run crouch thing, and I was like, no.
Another thing is they took away, like in so many ways this seems like it was trying to be like, this is BioWare's own IP, but it's also just Knights of the Old Republic again. Like it seemed like that's what they were trying to do, is Knights of the Old Republic, but without Star Wars. And they took away some like key character development options that I just thought was. So why are you going backwards?
Is there
like
no great NPC along the lines of HK-47?
I didn't really like many of them. No.
What about Rex? I thought he was pretty cool.
Rex is cool. Rex is the best one, but he's also like the most side character one.
Because they have been.
They also don't let you control them, which really bugs me. Like,
you only control your main.
You only control
person?
yourself, and that makes your squad members almost seem like they're not there, or that they're just extra powers you have. Because the way the game works is you go into a radial menu to do anything, pause the game, and you just target something. And then, like, character A is up in the top left of the radial menu, but his powers are really similar to yours. So if you're going to throw him, who cares if it's your throw or his throw? So it just they become almost invisible in a way, which really bugs me, and especially because you can't select them and control them, which I think is a big help to make them feel more like actual characters.
You can't point to a location, tell them where to go, but they're totally useless. The AI sucks.
That seems like a complete downgrading of, because in KOTOR you could totally control.
Yeah, you just switched between all of them, and
I'm
a real micromanaging player when I play that. Like when I play Baldur's Gate, I was constantly pausing. I was constantly giving orders to all 6 of my characters.
I played Baldur's Gate and KOTOR that way.
Yeah, that's just how I play. So as like the hardcore RPG player who likes that about BioWare, to see these things taken backwards is really bugging me.
Right.
So like I just hope Dragon Age or whatever's next kind of goes back to the old way.
You hear that?
You listening?
Hey, doctors. I got a prescription for you. So there was my rant. I had more.
Gets you wound up.
Most of it I'm not angry about anymore. Because like I said, my experience with it was starting off hating it and then eventually going, okay, that was pretty good. There's enough good stuff in here that...
Yeah, during that last week or so that you were playing it, you were aiming me multiple times a day. And this was when we were at work where you don't have your 360, so I know it was just on your mind. You just kept aiming me at random. I got to tell you, Jeff, Mass Effect is really good. So you were really into it.
Yeah, I was really into it.
You totally were.
And you'd recommend to skip the side quests or go with them, or?
I stopped going with them. It does a stupid thing where it like prevents you from doing them after a certain point. You don't realize it till it's too late. I won't spoil why, but I hate when they do that too. I'm just like, oh, so now I can't even do them? Well,
the
screw
Witcher
you,
did
game.
That too. Witcher does that too.
Does it? Why?
I don't know.
I don't get that. Why are you cutting my options off here? So
options are good.
I know, they're
good.
great.
That's one reason why Mario Galaxy is so good.
Yeah, let's talk Mario Galaxy.
For it, after I set that up though, because Jeff, you had such an obvious look of just being pissed off when I brought up Kevin Carter and interrupted, but I wanted to show you that it was relevant. Shawn said your choices, of course, are to save the baby or eat the baby. Kevin Carter was the famous photographer who took a picture of the starving Ethiopian infant with a vulture poised behind it, ready to eat it. He neither saved the baby nor ate the baby. He took a picture of the baby. He later on killed himself after it in despair. However, by taking the photograph and having it become, distributed worldwide, he ended up saving other babies. So I was making a point about other options outside of the binary.
I see.
Yep,
Wow.
see? There is no whatever stat that is. What stat would that be?
Sad National Geographic-ish.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get into Mario Galaxy, Ryan Scott's looking at his watch.
Oh.
He's an important man with things to do.
Gosh.
He has a timetable.
Places to go, people to see, trains
Ryan,
to catch.
are you skipping out on us in moments?
Yeah, I gotta.
Are you
for the one fan I have out there?
Oh, you have many,
Oh,
Ryan.
come on, dude. You got plenty of fans. I'm one of them.
You're the one.
Are you leaving us right now?
Yeah, sorry to disappoint you, Darren. My one fan.
We'll hit you up next time on the new Lost trailers that are coming out. And I wanted to rant about Ultimates 3, so
Oh God.
if I don't get a chance
Joys
to
of
do
Mark
that,
Millar.
Well, hey, whatever
it's another team.
whatever you're gonna say about Super Mario Galaxy, I agree. It's awesome.
You're in there in spirit.
Yeah.
You're playing it too?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
We should have talked about that first.
bye.
Bye, Ryan.
Wait, is this our last podcast of 2007?
It entirely. I am sure it is. Yes.
Okay. Well.
Given how frequently we've been getting this together lately,
Don't pretend we're
for
going to
which
make
I
another one.
apologize.
Don't get anyone's hopes up.
Right. I will not get anyone's hopes up. Ryan,
Oh well.
Happy New Year, Ryan.
I will see. I'll see all you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, you will.
But for everybody else, back in 2008.
Whee! Okay.
Peace out. Bye, Ryan.
Bye, Ryan. What a dick.
Okay.
Oh, he's still in the room. Oh, shit.
Actually, wait, let's wait till the door slams, then we can talk about that motherfucker.
Okay.
Ryan's out.
Mario Galaxy.
Mario.
That shit is good, like Ryan said. So I just got my Wii recently. I traded it in for the PS3, and it was like the best thing I could have possibly done for entertaining myself, right? Because I wasn't playing anything on the PS3, and immediately I got a bunch of games from EGM's library for Wii, and at first had a great time playing Marble Mania. And if someone out there is saying to themselves, "Oh, I know that one. That's Kora Rimba," you need to check yourself, kid. That's a super fun game. It's your traditional ball roller thing.
It's
where
Marble Madness?
No, it's Marble Mania.
No. Is it like Marble Madness, like that old?
It is, but it's actually closer to Super Monkey Ball and Mercury and some other games like that. So basically, in Marble Madness, the reason here, let me back it up. The reason it's not like Marble Madness is that Marble Madness, you basically roll the ball. You move the ball across a static environment. And these, what it simulates is you moving the environment. And the way that you go to Spencer Gifts or something and get a little board with a BB in it, and you're trying to run it through a maze and to get it in a hole. So the Wii controller perfectly simulates the feeling of holding the board in your hand. And it's so bizarre in that there's almost no right side up. You lose all sense of orientation for the controller. You stop paying attention to it, and you're constantly turning it around like it's an object. It's an actual artifact in your hands, and just nudging it, lifting it by very, very fine degrees to get the ball rolling a little faster, gradually moving in another way. So the feedback on that is just phenomenal. Sean, have you played it?
No.
Okay,
you mentioned
we'll get back to Mario quick, but I did want to address a few of these kind of games because the sense is you hear a lot in this building that these aren't games. They don't count. They're not worth talking about.
Well, yeah, before you even brought it up, I've seen it in the store all the time, and I've just totally dismissed it. I was like, why would I buy Marble Mania?
Yeah,
same here.
The universal sentiment here is that, well, you get a Wii, you get Zelda, you get Mario, you get Metroid, you're going to get Mario Kart now in the future along with Smash Brothers, and then that's it. You retire your system. I actually traded it specifically to play these kinds of games. And that was one reason why, with a 360 already in a PC, the variety of games available on PS3 aren't really doing anything for me. I already have that outlet, and I wanted games of another nature, and games that I can play when I have visitors over, people that are casual, all the reasons, grandma, but just instead of grandma, it's girlfriend and stuff,
Right.
And it's completely fun that way. It's completely enjoyable. The Marble Mania is great. I recommend it in that respect. It does some weird things, though. I mean, you play it and you kind of say, like, well, what if instead of just, like, getting this game out quick, they put the love into it that Nintendo would? So instead of just ramping up the difficulty uniformly so that your last hours with the game are your most frustrating, if they said, let's put a little bit more variety into this, there's like a couple cool series of levels where it's like a Candyland theme, you're moving across cakes and confections and stuff like that. And you're like, that's neat. And then it just goes to these boring kind of gray street environments, and you're like, let's throw some imagination in there. Let's do some weird environments. Let's make the game accessible to people. I also played Elebits and WarioWare. And the thing that was disturbing to me with those, while they're both fun in their own way, and I say this as a huge WarioWare series fan, is that I got this system to play these kind of games and to play them socially with other people. And yet there's no multiplayer in WarioWare. I mean, that seems like it's just an unanswerable fuck
there's
up.
There's a couple modes.
Well, it's like multiplayer. You just kind of switched off the controller, right? And that's about it.
Yeah, there's no like really they sat down and thought about how to make a multiplayer game.
And if you're talking about modes, you're talking about little mini games that you can unlock. And that's another thing with, like, Elebits, say, if you want to play multiplayer, you get one level. You could play multiplayer. Then you have to play the single player to unlock them. And so it's assuming that, well, you're getting this, and multiplayer is a bonus. But what if I got it just to play with other people, and I'm never going to play this on my own?
Right. That's
why do I
got
have to sit and unlock? It's this really old, antiquated mentality, and I think there's no
Mario Party has the same problem. Who the hell is going to sit there and play single-player Mario Party to unlock more?
To unlock the stuff, yeah.
For real?
That mentality is insane.
Man, that's so stupid.
And so WarioWare, though, they teased at the possibilities with the GameCube version, because it had a multiplayer mode where 4 people could all play, and you basically take turns doing the games, but then for every time you each take turns doing something, you're thrown into a mini game that you all play at once.
Right.
And the problem was that there weren't enough.
Yeah.
So if they took that and said, well, let's just throw hundreds of these where everyone's involved in, they could have made and used the Wiimote. They could have had such a fantastic game there, and instead I think that they don't have enough variety. The multiplayer is lacking, and that's kind of a letdown.
I totally agree. That was one that we played twice, and then when the normal people that come over to play these things, like, it's no longer part of a rotation of games to play.
Yeah, it's like neat for a few minutes, and it shouldn't. There's no excuse because that game has so much potential. I mean, they've done some cool things.
It was actually, I think, the one I was most excited about when I first saw the Wii, and I was parading around the E3 booth and going, "What's in here? What's in here? What's in here? Ooh, that's gonna be so rad!"
Yeah, that's like reason to get the thing. Yeah. That was why I wanted it when it came out last year, is to get and play that, not for Twilight Zelda. Princess, although now after Mario, I'm kind of inclined to want to try it. But then Rory, who just got a Wii based on hearing me going crazy about Mario, saying that I think it's probably the best game of 2007 across all platforms.
What?
Single player.
Hey, no.
Blasphemer.
Hey. So let's go right into
crazy.
That is
that your sentiment too, as well, Mr. Malloy?
Game.
I haven't sat down and assigned my 1, 2, and 3, but it's certainly 1, 2, or 3.
Wow,
I mean,
it's up there. Even though it makes me a little nauseous, it is up there on my list. For some reason, that game, like,
I'm gonna have to buy.
Well, that's part of what's awesome about it, is just like how insane the levels are and how well they work despite their insanity.
The whole time I'm playing it, I get for all the reasons that I've appreciate Valve and the way that they make games and the kind of games they make. I've talked about that a lot on the podcast. I'm looking at it and saying Nintendo and Valve are like they're just like cousins, on opposite sides of the world. They have to have some, and it makes me also wish that Nintendo was a little more open with the press. They're infamously secretive.
Yeah, very much so.
And I would guess now that their procedures are really similar. Just the whole notion of testing, putting something up immediately, testing it and iterating on it rather than just trying to throw something down, because everything in there, you feel that it's been worked. All the bugs have been worked out, of course, but many people have tried it to get the difficulty just right, not to risk pissing too many people off too soon, not to alienate anyone by having them become fatigued doing a certain type of task, So the variety, and when we talk about the pacing and the variety in Half-Life 2 Episode 2 that work so well and that make that game so great are compliments that I can give 100% to Mario Galaxy, and to some extent, even greater props to it, just because, every time you do a level, it's like something entirely different. The interface will often change, so that one moment you're basically walking on a ball and you're holding the Wiimote up and controlling it as though it were a virtual joystick, and whereas but analog, so little tilt moves and stuff. And the music is perfectly timed with the rate of your acceleration, so that's that extra feedback. You're getting the feedback from the controller. Then the next level, suddenly you're riding on a Manta. You're tilting the Wiimote this way. Then another is like a 2D platformer.
If you don't mind, just backing up for a minute, because I actually haven't even seen any footage of this game, and I am someone who's played. I didn't play a whole lot of Sunshine, even though I own it, but I did play Super Mario 64 as far as I could until I started sucking at it. But how does this play as a game, and how does it relate to those two series, just for a noob like me and a PC gamer?
Did you want to answer, Shawn?
Trying to think of how to answer that. I mean,
I think it's much better than Sunshine, which I wasn't too fond of.
I liked Sunshine. I didn't think it was that much different from Mario, though, whereas this one I do feel is I mean, Mario 64 when I say Mario.
The interface and your range of movements for the majority of levels are identical, with the exception of this spin attack that you get by sort of flicking the Wiimote in your hand. And that actually feels really good. It's really natural. You're thinking is this going to be weird? Is this actually just good for gimmick games, and I don't mean gimmick in a bad way. Is it games that are just simplified control schemes, that don't have traditional foundations like Mario, And it actually implements it so well that, if you have the fire flower, right, to throw a fireball rather than press a button, you make a little throwing motion, and it comes so casually. And it's fun. I mean, you kind of, you ever get that thing when you go up to something and it's a crystal and it's loaded with goodies, and you want to do your spin attack to break it, and you kind of give that little extra verve in your snap,
I'm excited
about to get those, and even the split controller to that extent is great in that you can stretch.
Oh, I love
throw
that.
one of your arms off the couch, and you don't have to just hold them both in front of you like grandma at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel. You just constantly cross your arms.
The nunchuck thing is comfortable.
It is a good solution. So to answer your question, it's very similar with the triple jump. That you can turn backwards and jump to go higher. That you can crouch and jump. You can run it. All that moveset is still there, and then a whole nother moveset that utilizes the new interface, and it will introduce you to that in discrete levels so that you're never overwhelmed.
So,
and you're never
is it
wondering
all of
what
it
to
that
do.
is making it so great too? It's the Wiimote plus the level design plus the polish.
It's all those things, and it's a perfect answer to the design of Mario, right? So here's what I mean by that. Mario levels always existed in this kind of weird game space. So when it went 3D, it was kind of an issue. Like, you have to put mountains on the sides because it's like, this is just this little snippet of a world made for platforming.
Right.
But now we're trying to put it in a natural environment.
It's a little snow globe.
Is it a playground? It's a snow globe.
Yeah.
So they took that and they made a game and said, well, let's celebrate that and let's utilize that and make every world very obviously a snow globe in the form of a planetoid. And then also in that, you have the ability to have the bottom of the world become useful, and the world isn't useful in the round. So every level, if you think of like an ant walking around a sculpture or something, that's the play space then, instead of just a snow globe where it's got a bottom to it. That's part of the fun. It's just delightful to be. I mean, it makes you want to use cheesy words the whole time I'm playing it. You're like, it's just
delightful.
So,
You just wanted to use
yeah. It's like,
I don't know if you've
I've ever heard
joy to
it's
play.
delightful. It's endearing. It's all these like grandma words, but in the best way.
True. But the best Nintendo games have always been that way, right?
They always have, but this one more so. I think maybe I got to a point where, kind of like, yeah, I understand the Nintendo worship. I was there all along. In fact, I was, I was with you. But then when you see the Nintendo cult followers sort of push me away from it at times.
Right.
Because not every game that comes out of Nintendo is this good.
Just gold.
Not at all.
Right,
this is one of Nintendo's finest pieces of software they've ever produced.
But this is like certain bands that like you can't fault the band for its like lame fans. Right, the band is still good.
Exactly, and it's you can't help it.
Go away.
Yeah, you can't help it that it's got some shitty fans in this, and this one kind of got me where it's like, okay, you just play it and all that goes away. You're like, this is just so good. Every single level, I can't wait to see what's next. It's just so brilliant. Rather than here's part of the thing with the variety and pacing. A lot of developers say we've got a clever idea, right? And you can pick any one from this game. Another one would be where you get in a bubble and then you use your Wiimote as though it were an air blaster, and you move it like sort of like a remote wand, and pressing the button gives it a little puff, and you do it in these little like. And it's kind of like you're juggling bubbles with a little can of compressed air. It feels so great. So most of the developers would say, we're on to something here. Let's figure out how we can keep people doing this for the next hour and a half.
Yeah.
And just do it over and over again. And then what's going to happen is it's just going to become increasingly difficult. To the last 10 minutes of that hour, you're ready to pull your hair out and you're just relieved to be done with it. And so what started off as this excellent idea is now something you despise. They never do that. They never let it get to that point. What they do is they introduce it to you, sort of let you get the taste, and then they pull it away. And you're like, so your memory of it was, that was fantastic. And then before you can sit there and get nostalgic about it, the next thing is blowing your mind even more. Say the entire level is a giant robot, like in the form of the old 1940s tin wind up robots and stuff. And the level, his body is the level, walking around it in 3 dimensions, and so all the little ports that shoot rockets at you, going all around that, pulling out, spinning around the screws to undo them, to have the limbs fall off, and doing that by whipping the Wiimote around is what that dumb sound was. And then just over and over again, and hitting you with, and surprising you like that to that degree that when you're done, it's like, I can't wait to play this again. It's a lesson to everyone who wants to make a game of this quality. Like, just pay close attention to this. And Nintendo, let some people in and see what you do, instead of being so
the Willy Wonka's chocolate
zipped up.
Yeah, very much so.
It is Willy Wonka's chocolate factory.
So you're making
coding the game.
So this is a game buying machine. I should buy a Wii for this.
You would, and you'll feel so great. It'll give you that, when you get a new console and you want that experience where, like, this is,
thank God,
no buyer's remorse is the last thing on my mind.
Right. Yeah.
Which is like all that was there for PS3 for me, because I had, again, and if I didn't have a 360 and I didn't have a PC, that would have been different. I probably would have been in love.
Right.
But
the PS3 was the third one I had.
And this
I'm
is just so different, Another fun thing, it's kind of like you just want to blab about everything that's cool. There's no like coherence or structure to the way I'm going through this. But when you get those little fireballs and you spin, you bring them into your sort of orbit by spinning around,
right?
And then it's like throwing a bolo around, and the centripetal force. So you're kind of like whipping the Wiimote around as though you were really spinning like a ball on a string, and then you whip that into the boss. It's just really cool. I like it. They did some good stuff.
Sure did. Wow. Games for Windows recommends Super Mario Galaxy.
Yeah, there's so much more about it.
I put Zack and Wiki on the back burner for me too, which was another
absolutely
awesome game.
Wow.
That's actually a really fun game for two players as well. Well, not
Zack
really.
and Wiki.
Yeah.
Actually, Mario's good for 2 players. Did you?
Have you played it? I haven't tried it, but go ahead. I know the premise.
The second player, you think it'd just be gimmicky, and it's actually kind of fun for some reason. Can collect star bits, which are these little things that if you point at them with the cursor, you get them, and then you can shoot them at things. So you can shoot them at enemies, and you can stun them by grabbing them, which is actually like a great little co-op mechanic, because if you're fighting a boss or whatever, the person who's controlling Mario is like, can you grab that thing?
Yeah.
And then you can go, oh yeah, I'll hold it in place for you. And then
when the difficulty does ramp up, that seems like it would be a huge help, because not only
it does make it easier.
You're worried about it's worrisome enough to figure out where you're going to jump and what you're going to dodge, and then when you're also trying to fight things, and there's projectiles coming at you from the distance, there are things underneath your feet. I mean that.
See, actually, that's the part where I started getting nauseous, because like my buddy was controlling Mario, and I'm like sitting there doing the skeet shooting with the stars, and you can't predict where he's going to go. So all of a sudden, I'm like the whole world's spinning around you, and I'm just
I find dizzy doing it.
I find myself getting nauseous in games like that, or even FPS games to some degree, if I'm not in control directly.
Even watching an FPS game never affected me. Mario Galaxy is the first game that ever got me like remotely like nauseous.
As soon as I'm like in the driver's seat, it's no problem at all. But like watching other people is a little goofy.
It absolutely the human mind that's rooted in a sense of an up and a down absolutely undoes all that.
Yes, definitely.
The levels are just so bizarre where you might be on an orb and. Here's another thing that's so great. They think of like every little detail. If you're fighting like Bowser on an orb, for example, right? They make the orb have transparent spots so that when you hit him and spin him and he's going around the back of it, you're able to see when he's going to be completing the rotation and hitting your side of it, so that you can get your spin attack ready to hit him back on the other side. But then say there's a smaller orb next to it, you just jump off of yours, and then suddenly up is entirely another direction, because you're now at this angle. I'm just sort of like making my arm at a 45-degree angle to Jeff, and you can walk around the back of that, go to the other side of it, and jump onto yet another orb or another little planetoid. And there are things that go even beyond that really mess with your sense of space. And you always get it, though. I mean, it's another testament to the flexibility of the human's mind to just deal with different orientation. Like in the same way that when you put glasses on, you put glasses on people that have mirrors in them that project the world upside down, and when they wear those for like 23 days or so, then it's no longer an issue for them. Then their mind is able to automatically like reverse the image.
Really?
Yes, this is real. This is the perception psychology is really interesting to me, but it's kind of like that, but it just happens immediately. You're like, at first, like, crap. When I push down on the stick, is that going to make me move toward the screen or away from the screen?
See, this is making me think of, and I'm sure it's totally wrong, totally not true, but it's hearing you talk makes me think of Portal.
I was just about to say, it's the same kind of thing.
Doesn't it all relate to that?
It has that sense,
to a degree,
In terms of,
I mean, like, you don't perceive space in the way you do in Mario in our world, nor is the way you do in Portal.
It causes you to look at space and dimensionality in a different way. Okay. It has everything to do with it in that sense. Yeah,
very much.
It's.
I like it a lot too.
Damn.
I got Zack and Wiki also based on people's recommendations, and I want the reassurance from you guys that have played more that the whole thing is not like the first 30 minutes where it's nonstop word bubbles coming up with shitty dialogue.
No.
It's just kind of interesting.
It's the kind of shit that people who like sleep with pillows of like underage like anime girls on them love. Oh,
it's very much about the puzzles. Like when you get into a puzzle, there's just like zero dialogue. Actually, it's just like you figuring out how to use.
You have to observe this.
I don't even know what this game is. Who are Zack and Wiki? Who are they?
It's almost
what is this?
It's close to a graphic adventure in terms of like how you control it and what you're doing, but it's also more of a puzzle game than a graphic adventure.
So basically,
somewhere in between.
So basically, you use your remote, the Wiimote, like you would use like any other devices you interact with in the game. So if like you have a key, you move it like into a key slot, a keyhole, and then turn it like a key and stuff like that.
Okay.
But I mean,
it's about manipulating objects and using it to
But yeah,
puzzles basically. It's really cool.
Soldier through the first 30 minutes. Those word bubbles are going away. Like after they kind of introduce like the concepts and how it works.
Yeah, it was so talky.
It gets old really fast. I know, but
and I couldn't skip those. I couldn't accelerate.
It's not ultimately. It is not talky. Like you're probably in the part where he's meeting all of his pirate friends or whatever.
That's another lesson. Along with like making the multiplayer components available from the beginning, Japanese programmers need to learn to like let us skip the fucking dialogue. I don't care how good your localizers are. Sometimes that shit is like, I don't need it. I don't want it in my life right now.
It goes away. Don't worry.
Let me ask you one more Mario question, and that's about the difficulty. Because I find if I am honest with myself, I realize with every Mario game, I am more a Mario appreciator than someone who can actually play these games very well, because I really find them to be difficult.
There's some hard-ass shit in this
Super Mario 64, I did not come close to completing.
I was afraid because I'd heard Shane and other people commenting on how difficult the game was, so I was like sort of hesitant to buy it, and I found that it's not that difficult until late in the game. And the way that it works is the beginning is really just nice. And that's one thing I would have is like to always keep in mind that the whole notion of game, I mean, of course, when you teach a player a skill set and then you want to continue to challenge them, you assume that they're becoming increasingly familiar with your controls, and you want to. But if you go too far, you always make the last parts of your game frustrating and the first parts delightful. To go back to that theme, and that was exactly with you on it. I'm like, I don't want this to be where it's great to pop in these worlds, get a look, and then to like scream and fucking swear at my TV, for them, like, and it's still based. It is anachronistic. The game has like the one-ups, and that's part of the legacy of it being an arcade game and wanting your money. So, I mean, that's another question I have. Do you even need those at this point, you know? Why not just let me keep trying? If I want to try all night on this one thing, why can't I?
Right.
I mean, especially for us PC players.
Wouldn't there be big cries of betrayal if they took out the
They would.
one-ups?
All the people that, again, the people that sleep with the pillows with the anime girls would cry and scream and, and hump their pillows.
Needs green mushrooms, damn it.
But it doesn't matter anyway, because when you save the game, I had like 40 one-ups at one point, and I turned the game back on the next day to find that it put me right back down to 5. It starts to get 5 every single time. So it's kind of like halfway there in the first place. It's like, well, quit fucking around. But so to answer your question on that, Jeff, it's like once you unlock a little planetoid, a little galaxy, they call it, and there's multiple challenges within each one, you can get in and say, I really don't like this. I don't like swimming. It's too difficult for me to orient myself in this world. I'm going to go to the next one. And you'll always have enough, because it's based on stars as the progress. You get X amount of stars to get access to the next galaxy. And there are other things that happen where you get these little, I don't know, star nuggets that open up other extra galaxies. But you can always say, I don't want to do this. Yeah. And then you beat the game at what, 60 stars?
Something like that.
And there are like more than 100 stars.
Double that, yeah.
And that's when it's like for, the people who really like the challenge. So if you're like, I don't want to be frustrated. I just want to, enjoy this wonderful craftsmanship and the thinking and the innovation and just like the aesthetic of all this. Just go to 60 and don't worry about the people that tell you, oh, well, you didn't really beat it because you didn't get 101 stars.
I mean, I have to get over my own psychological.
that does not. Anybody who's, kind of, measuring their manliness by how well they did at Mario.
Mario stars.
Is not really anybody I need to pay attention to.
You don't need to worry about that. Yeah. I mean, I have to get over my own psychological block of if I complete a galaxy, not complete a galaxy, if I get the first star in the galaxy and then it says, hey, look, there's another star in this galaxy, I got to go get that star. And even if a new galaxy is opened up, like
the completist mentality.
Right, and that's when you start, like you said, the later stars in the same level are the ones that are the harder ones.
And those are exactly what I avoid. I never do more than, I don't think.
And I could totally not do it, but I have that obsessive compulsive star collection.
I have that weird, it is off topic, but I do have the same thing with Guitar Hero 3 right now. I get OCD with, like, I need to get 5 stars on everything.
Oh, I don't have
even though I'm on hard right now, I'm looking at my medium list, and I'm seeing some 3s or 4s where I kind of screwed up, and I'm feeling bad that I'm doing hard, because I feel like I didn't fully finish medium yet.
Yeah.
I don't have that with that.
Different mindsets.
Yeah. I mean, I can, like, break, if I am really getting stuck on something, there's a couple that have just been like, fuck this one. I'd be like, oh, wait. I can go over here to Fish Planet and start over again. And
I'm actually combating that. I'm actually combating that completist thing in Mass Effect right now. So
I didn't have that trouble with Mass Effect.
Taking your advice, I am not going to scour every planet. I'm not going to take every side quest. I'm just going to motor through it.
They managed to throw some horrible entry barriers into wanting to do side quests. So
my big challenge is still getting the frickin' Wii.
Yeah.
I still can't believe it's so hard to get one a year later.
It's crazy. I know the lines to like camp out for these things are like as long as the one I stood in the day it came out. It's nuts.
Yeah, I'm on the whatever it's called, Wii Alerts thing. So I get the little ding in my email box that there's one available, and every time I double click on it, it's gone already. Which is just like playing that fucking trivia game with Shane today in this podcast we did. I don't know when this thing's going to be.
Buzz the Mega Quiz?
Yeah, Buzz the Mega Quiz. I played this thing with Shane and Kathleen Sanders and Mike Donahoe, and just to spoil that. Because I guess folks who listen to 1UP or read 1UP.com could vote for who they thought was going to win. And I think I did really well in the voting. Like, I think many, or I might have even been the top vote.
People overestimate your abilities.
People are like, Jeff Green, he's the old guy, and he's and he's smart. You know, he must have that older guy wisdom, so I'm going to vote for him. But in fact, the reflex action, I lost on the timing. I could never buzz.
You could not buzz.
Enough. Clearly, I would suck being on Jeopardy.
But then that
I could not buzz
every
fast
question
enough.
was one that people had an answer for immediately, right? Without much searching of their thoughts.
The questions on this game were not difficult.
Okay.
yeah.
So your name is...
Kind of, yeah.
Like,
I mean, but here, you guys...
than a fourth grader. You see that video with like...
how many fifth graders can you beat up, that one?
No, there's it's Are You Smarter than a third grader or fourth grader or something? I'm getting it wrong because I've only...
I think it's fifth.
Been exposed to it in the YouTube
show?
version.
Yeah.
And what did they ask? Do you know what the capital of Hungary is? Just like, is that a place?
Really?
No. It just goes on and on. It gets increasingly, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm holding up the controller for this game. They can't see it on the podcast, but it's one of these big-ass... Got a big red button, and a blue, orange, green, and yellow one under it. And, like, you would have to, like...
Dude, there's such a mom joke in there.
Yeah, depending on the...
I'm not going to say it, though.
Yeah, don't say it. Depending on the... whoa!
Sorry.
Depending on the type of question in this game show... Like, sometimes it was you have to buzz the fastest, but sometimes it was, like, press the color of the right one. And I was totally doing that old man thing of, like, the question would come up, and I got to look down every time, like, which one's the orange one again? And by then, like, the other three people have already answered.
Got to push down the
Jeff!
bifocals.
Yeah, push down the button, which you're not kidding about. I'm holding them. So I was like, fuck. So I actually, not only did I not win for those people who voted for me, I came in last.
Considering I'm looking at the manual here. Which character did you pick? The mime or Napoleon or the cheerleader?
I was the old lady.
Okay.
Oh, and then insult to injury because the video of this thing might go up because I was totally doing the old guy thing of I don't know how to use this thing. What's this? When everybody named themselves, you know what my name was? Player 4. Ultimate loser. Couldn't even figure out how to enter my name.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, what do you got there, Sean?
I've got, before we forget, is why I'm holding these papers.
Oh, you're right.
We ran a contest, and it was now 2 weeks ago, and the prize is to win Company Heroes and Company Heroes Opposing Fronts. And I have 3 winners, and each of them is going to get both of those games. And the contest was, well, at the time, in that episode, we were sort of making fun of video game holiday buyer's guides. Mm-hmm. And so I asked people to make their own sort of bullshit entries for these guides that would sort of make fun of how ridiculous and overpriced and undesirable the things in these guides are, and how frequently the write-ups are basically pasted PR, press release information.
I do want to extend extra special kudos to the people who link to our own shitty write-ups on oneup.com. There are people who are like, oh, you mean like this one that you guys read?
Well, it wasn't. I mean, that's the part of the thing. Is we were,
of course.
It was the network, and we were like,
right.
We meant to say. I mean, I meant to say that we have our own glass houses, and my thing is like, I have no problem making fun of those. So.
Right.
So here are the winners. So one of them goes to Kid Kalen. He actually gave 3 or 4 separate entries, and any of them was a contender for winner. One is the True Messiah stained glass window. And the price is $899.99. And his write-up was, are you sick and tired of the frigid breeze blowing through the gaping hole in your bedroom wall? Are you fed up with being fed upon in your sleep by transient mosquitoes and buzzards? Are you desperately searching for a way to show your friends and family how truly hardcore you are? And is your ultra-religious mom worried that your obsession with Halo is reaching unhealthy levels? At last, for a modest fee, you can decorate your Halo sanctuary with a sleek, translucent effigy of your true savior. Show your mom what a real Messiah looks like. What has her God ever done for you anyway? What did Jesus ever dual wield? Loaves and fish? Boring. Make your mom cry and question her own faith by praying aloud to the stained glass image of a fictional video game character, decrying her chosen religion as an abomination and an affront to the Master Chief. So it was a Master Chief. So
was there a picture with that? That would have been awesome.
There is.
There is? Oh, no kidding.
Because someone made a real... Yeah, so if anyone wants to see the pictures for these, just go to the 1UP forums and you'll see a thread stickied at the top that says GFW Radio Contest, Company Heroes Contest. And this one's probably on like page 3 or 4. And it's a nice Master Chief stained glass. looks kind of nice. He also had one honorable mention. I won't read the write-up, but it was Rock Band for PC. And what he did was he took the image of the guys playing the Shadowrun box from that section in our magazine. So they're all playing the Rock Band box, but instead there's like, a guitar is laid out like a keyboard, and the guy's like playing it like Stevie Wonder, like just like kind of like yelling at it. And then another one, like the guy's like holding a microphone, like as he's like shouting this. And yeah, he's just talking. It was the picture alone was worth it. The coffee mug gave a few that were pretty good. He's getting one of the prize packs. This is a direct rip on something you read, Jeff, about the elite shirts. So he has all your base or belong to us t-shirt. Where it's at the dorky booth at the flea market between the Evangelion DVDs and the 100 Bullets trades. The price is $27. It's making a comeback. Let your friends in on the greatest internet phenomenon of all time. Remind them why they subscribe to CompuServe. Nothing says that you get signal like a classic inside joke. And this shirt depicts the most hilarious moment in video game and internet history as of 2002. This piece is timeless with its pixelated text. The yellow font on the blue or black shirt symbolizes the stark difference between Japanese and English languages. Get your English on and set up us the bomb for someone you love this holiday season. Then Panda Claus is the third winner. He had a bunch as well, and one of them was that thing, potato salad.
Oh, God.
It was that Wii game with, like, a dog humping a guy.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, that had potato salad.
I walked by where you're looking at that one.
Yeah, I did.
This is not that was not the winning entry.
Okay.
That's not fit for radio, but
I had to
unsee
that one. Yeah.
So he gives you the official Epic Games futuristic combat armor for $174.95. And
that's pretty good deal.
This combat armor is just in time for this 2007 holiday season. Epic's game has finally released a fully functional version of their patented futuristic combat armor designed for office and recreational use. While this is a shitty gift for the ones you love, if you actually like Unreal games, you probably don't have any friends or family anyway. Famously used... Hold on.
Ouch.
And we do not, these are not our GFW's opinions. These are the contest.
Nice disclaimer.
So, famously used in nearly every Epic game since Jackrabbit 2, this armor is a completely original piece of classical design that merges sleek aesthetics with brilliant function to provide you with a cool and durable protection against the poorly designed weapons of the future. While unable to stop any modern projectiles, the chest shoulder armor will be invaluable when in 50 years or so, suspiciously Strog-like aliens somehow alter the universal physics that govern chemistry we use on our planet to create gunpowder, and will be forced to design a new type of shotgun that slowly fires a hard rubber pellet rather than traditional buckshot, a new and less deadly automatic Nerf gun, a biffy sewage launcher, a photonic energy rifle, a photonic submachine gun, a slow-moving rocket launcher, and for some reason, a long-range electricity rifle. While this retard